Okay, well, Victor's just popped in. Now, before we begin, Victor, I'd like to thank you for coming forward and actually asking us to do this interview. Now, keep in mind, this is only going to be audio because, well, of course, my camera is damaged, and, well, you're going to be on the phone. Is that alright with you? Just type your first response, because I know you're still, you just said you were fiddling with your mic a moment ago, so I guess you'll, as soon as your mic actually starts, feel free to, let me know with a text, and then we can begin. And again, I would like to thank you for coming forward, and I'd also like to say, yes, our agreement will be honored, your voice will be modulated, and I will be referring to you as Victor for the sake of your anonymity.
It's my pleasure. I would like to say my name is not important. My alias is Victor, and yes, I did go to the same high school as Paul Lannister, also known as Devil's Food Cake 69 on YouTube. Okay, now before I start, I know you're gonna ask me questions. Is there anything particular that you would like me to answer, right off the top of your head, before we really get into how he was as a teenager?
My question is, Victor, how did Paul get along with other students in high school? How did he treat them? Did he get along with them, or was it kind of like he didn't really, treat anyone decently? How exactly did he behave in high school?
To put it bluntly, Paul was a very awkward kid. He didn't talk to very many people, he didn't get along with very many people. He seemed to be the type of kid that thought everyone else around him wasn't as smart as he was, and it seemed to translate into everything he did, including YouTube from what I've seen. Paul seems to think that, even now, even though it's 9, maybe 10 years later now, it's hard to say for sure because he was a grade ahead of me, but even now, Paul still acts like he knows the world more than anyone else, and he treats anyone that says otherwise poorly. And honestly, I don't understand, he hardly had any friends in school, and the friends he did have were not really worth a fuck, to be honest with you. I mean, to be bluntly honest, the friends he had were not worth a fuck. And it's almost like he knew it, but just chose not to do anything about it. Simply because he was afraid that if he didn't have friends at all, he'd be laughed at. Which honestly, I think the reason he wears the dust mask, like you said before, in other videos that are no longer around, the reason he wears the dust mask is because he's afraid someone's going to recognize him and then call contact with him once they find out how much of a giant cunt he is. Which honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, he was the type of person, even then, just like he is now. If anything, he's only gotten worse with time.
Okay, so you're saying Paul had, you're saying that he was this quiet, awkward kid that was very shy. And apparently you just get hinted at it a moment ago, just a few seconds ago, and I'm gonna ask this question while you're drinking your water, because I can hear you via your microphone that you're drinking it. I'm gonna tone the sound down after some editing, but I know you just hinted on the fact that the friends he had in high school were not really the type of friends that a guy wants to hang out with. And could you please just elaborate a little bit more on that in just a moment?
Okay, well, now that my throat feels better, I have a sore throat right now. It's really cold where I live, so let me just elaborate on what I said a moment ago. The type of friends I mean no one wants to hang out with. Yeah, excuse your messenger, I heard that just a moment ago. Thing is though, by the type of friends I mean no one wants to hang out with, I mean these are the kind of kids that no one gets along with. These are the kind of kids that knowingly go out and try to start things with people. And from what I've seen on his YouTube videos, it seems like that sort of thing is actually carried over to his online persona as much as it carried over into his actual flesh and blood persona. I mean, I've seen the things that he did to you, and personally, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I hate to be the guy that says that, but I was not surprised in the slightest that he was willing to do that to somebody. Because even in high school, we all knew he was that much of an asshole.
Honestly, the fact that Paul uses autistic as an insult kind of just makes me think he's stupid and lazy, to be honest with you, because people don't really choose to be autistic. It's just something that occurs naturally in birth. But Paul keeps acting like everyone that's autistic acts like fucking Chris Chan, but the reality is most people with autism actually lead relatively normal lives. And honestly, I don't mean to get like too personal, but was there anyone in school that you knew that had autism that Paul had a particularly bad time with? Because it's something like that that makes me wonder if he didn't just have a problem with someone in school that had autism and that problem just like translated into how he acts outside of school. Like I'm beginning to wonder if the only reason he's so pissed at people who have autism is just because he had one particularly bad experience with someone who suffers from it.
Yes, a friend of mine had autism. We were friends all throughout high school, and during one of the days of school, him and his girlfriend were kissing in front of the school. Paul had seen it, and when they had gotten into the building, Paul had like a little emotional meltdown about it, because apparently an autistic person can't have a normal relationship. Even though Paul's such an asshole, he claims to have one, but I don't think he does, simply because of how much an asshole he is. Thing is, though, he tried to attack this person after getting into a verbal argument with them. This person clearly didn't want to fight. This person's girlfriend stepped in to intercede. Paul had punched her in the gut because he was too busy flailing his arms trying to get a hit in to realize who he was trying to hit. And of course, the kid was obviously pissed when someone hit his girlfriend, so the kid walked up to Paul and basically kicked his ass with one punch, knocked him right to the fucking ground. And honestly, I say he deserved it because he hit a woman because he was pissed off at her boyfriend. He was too fucking stupid to just get a pair of nuts. Honestly, I don't feel bad for him at all, and honestly, that's why I think he hates autistic people, because someone who had autism kicked his ass.
So did Paul regularly do this? Did he normally seek out fights with other students like this?
Yes, he has, and sadly, though, he always seems to take it upon himself to do these sort of things to people, regardless of whether or not he actually had anything to gain. I remember there were times in high school, there goes your messenger again, you must be getting a few messages from people. I remember though there were times in high school where people who were dating in his grade as well as people that were a grade above him or in my grade would be having an argument or some sort of dispute, and Paul would literally, if he was around or if he was like within earshot of the argument, he would literally come out of nowhere and pick the girl's side regardless of whether or not she was right or wrong over whatever the couple were arguing about. And he had done this at least a half dozen times, and every time he would do it, he would basically just do it to try to win the woman's favor in the argument. He would even go so far as to threaten to attack the person who's arguing with this girl just to try to make them be quiet. And I've actually seen him do this to other people. I've heard him do this to other people. When I found out he had a YouTube channel and the things that he had done to you, I decided to actually look into it because morbid curiosity had got my interest. And honestly, the way he acts, I'm not surprised at all. Because he acts exactly like he did 10 years ago. And it's kind of sad. Actually, yes, I have at least 3 I can name right off the top of my head. I will tell them to you one at a time. That way if you have questions after each one, you can answer, that you can ask them and I can answer them. Now, there was the first, I'm going to start like from best to worst when it comes to like social fails. That way we can just really get down to it. There was a girl in our school, I believe he was either, like, he was either, like, really interested in her, or just didn't like someone that she was seeing at the time. Like, I don't remember it too clearly, but I do remember that there was one day in the middle of school, she and this guy had been in the library. This guy had been leaving to check out a book we were supposed to be reading for a class, and Paul had just walked in to do something. I don't know what he did, whether it was just typing up an essay or checking out a book, I don't know. But Paul literally, from walking, got into a dead sprint keep in mind, this other student had not done a thing to him. Everyone had just stood there, or sat there, depending on who was in the chair, and just watched Paul lose his mind on this individual. Screaming at him, shouting at him, swearing at him, calling him all sorts of things, calling him a motherfucker, calling him an abuser, calling him a miserable bag of shit, calling him autistic. Basically just calling him everything fucking possible that a person can call another person to insult them. And for what reason, like, I'm kinda unsure. Like, it was either because he was interested in a specific girl that this person was dating, or just because he didn't like the guy for reasons that I don't really know. But that's one particular one.
Well, Victor, I know you're taking off, so again, I'd like to thank you, and feel free to drop me a line anytime when you're ready to continue this interview and hopefully conclude it. Anyway, have a nice evening. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. I have to go somewhere tonight. I have to go take care of something really important. I don't want to mention what it is because if I do, I might end up giving myself away. But yes, I will be willing to continue this interview some more, just to really make sure we lay down all the facts, just to put everyone in everyone else's perspective here, because I want people to be aware of the kind of person Paul is. Because I've seen that he's been able to squeeze under the radar so far, so I just want people to be fully aware of what he is. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for having me on here. Like, welcome back to YouTube, by the way. There goes your messenger again. You must be very popular today, sir. Anyway, I'll contact you again as soon as I'm ready to set up another interview period. Have a good evening, and again, thank you for your time.